guys, welcome to our first video of the Grey Pixel. And here today we have a twin. So they are filmmaker, animator, illustrator, and many more things they do. They play guitar also. You can check on their Instagram handle. That will be in our description. So let us begin. Hello guys. Hi. How are you doing?
Hi, we are doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So, like the first thing I would like, I think audience would like to know is what is a day like in your in the illustrator life? Like, how do you manage to get so much creative ideas and stuff?
We it's actually we take inspirations and we believe that stories, keep happening around us, and we just need to shut ourselves down for a bit and listen to them. So we take inspirations from our daily lives, and a day it's been quite different, and it's uh, changing every day since the past 2 months actually. Uh, a day mostly begins with us waking up with either back pain or shoulder pain, because uh, we sit long hours when walking, and even if you're walking from home, it gets pretty tough at times. And but the last 2 days has been pretty unsettling for us, because as we all know that one of our very favorite actors passed away 2 days back, and it feels pretty personal. The loss is pretty personal. So the yesterday and today morning it's been pretty tough, because it's the toughest mornings are the day after a loss, and it feels surreal and very depressing actually. So other than that, our gains, like I said, with us waking up with pain in probably shoulder or back, and then deciding what projects do we have, working on them. Right.
That sound little scaring. Like you always wake up with a pain in your shoulder and back. And yeah, like it was really like a blast from the news. Like 2 days before I woke up, I was like Irfan Khan has passed away, and yesterday I woke up, I was like Rishi Kapoor, what's happening in this world? It's really, really very depressing, as you said.
Mhm.
Yeah, so moving forward, so as you said, you tend to get inspiration. So like, how do you guys like keep how and where do you find those inspirations from and where?
We said, in ordinary spaces often have extraordinary stories to offer. Uh, Anywhere you might look outside of your window, and uh, the vegetable seller on the street in
Yeah.
a hot day doing his job, and that can spark a story. Or you can see your mom working in the kitchen, working to feed you, and doing, uh, that, and uh, as she trying to comfort you, and everything, anything actually around you can spark a story if you're, looking closely.
Oh, so like you don't go anywhere search, you just look around and you just see what kind
And
of
look around,
uh,
yeah, and
yeah.
go through the news actually, and there are, strange things happening worldwide. A president just asked people to push disinfectant
into
to
themselves.
into themselves for fighting the COVID-19. Like, stories are happening worldwide, and they are pretty unbelievable most of the time these days. So it's really easy to fetches story if if you're looking closely and keeping your eyes and ears open. We believe.
Okay, so just give me another question that if someone comes you and just give you the idea, like, and don't give you any context for it, like if there is something you have to make a creative or a illustration for some topic, but he doesn't give you reference or context or anything. So how do you like proceed that? Like, how do you go about that?
We what we actually do is in uh, in such scenarios we actually make a rough sketch and show it to the client uh, and tell them that what we want, why we use the layout that we are using, and what color scheme we want to put in so that it uh, looks the way we feel it should. So that way, it gets a bit problematic when
the client doesn't have a vision at all.
yeah. And then after we have submitted or done, after we have gone a long way into the project with all the details and coloring, then the client says that I actually had this in mind, and come up with something which is entirely different from what he or she has been saying from the beginning.
So my next question would be like, how, like you must be having clients with obviously with deadlines and stuff, right? So if they
Right.
have some tight deadline, so how do you like, do you get pressurized or how do you tackle that?
Yeah, I mean, most often we have projects with a tight deadline. But the thing is, like, before starting to work on a project, we have a discussion that if at all that deadline is possible to meet. So, and if we decide that it's not, then we tell the client that it won't be possible, and there's a slight possibility that we might complete the work before the deadline.
And we believe actually that it's very important to understand whether or not you will be able to finish something off in time. Uh, Initially, we there were times when we actually took up projects and then realized that it was too much for us, and in the middle of it, it got really hectic, and thankfully the client
also figured that out. It was it was getting tougher for her as well. So we had a discussion that it would be better if we don't take this forward, because even our the output that we were giving were not satisfactory to either of us.
So we mutually called it off. So I think it's really important to understand how far you can take yourself before you actually commit to a project.
Oh, okay. So, like as you said, you mutually called it off. So for a while you were under pressure because of all the. It was very hectic, right? So there might be something which you have done a great work. Like you must be proud. Like I did this under pressure. So is there any like illustration or any work that you are proud of? Like I did it under pressure.
Yeah, actually, so this was for a film, and we had actually 7 days to not 7 days, probably less than that, 6 days.
The last one we did was
so back in 2017 we got a project for a film where we had to do 60 illustrations in 7 days. So
Okay, 60 illustration.
Yeah. So that was pretty tough, but we pulled it off, and that kind of got us the confidence to take on such projects, and also understand how we should work and place ourselves to pull something like that off. So that was in 2017, and lately in this March, we actually um, completed an animated short advertisement for a brand in 3 days. So that was a big thing for us, because as you know that animations are much more hectic than illustrations, because they require multiple illustrations for a single frame. So these two projects actually help us understand how we can keep things and arrange things to work on such projects accordingly.
Oh, that's really nice. Okay, so what are the qualities and skills like you should know when you start off, like for our aspiring illustrator or graphic designer or animator, is there
Mhm.
any qualities or skill they should learn first before getting into the field?
Yeah, I mean, the most important thing is to have a practice of sketching. Uh, our mentor used to say that he uh, he used to say 200 sketches a day is the magic number. But 20 sketch, if you're doing 20 sketches, so basically, people need to be in love with what they're doing. Only that can, uh, make the practice better. And as a result, I mean, it would make the sketches better as well. And people need to sketch from live objects, like anything that see around them, and not from images, and that would help them interpret uh, real life in their own way. So that helps a lot.
And also to understand the proportion of
Proportion and
two
that way,
objects.
yeah.
It gives us a better understanding when we are sketching from live objects that are in front of us, rather than from a picture, since there is depth, and that way we get the volume in a better way.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
So, so how do you start a project? Like, when you get a context, when you get all the data, then
Mm-hmm.
how do you exactly start, and where do you, as you said, you look for inspiration everywhere, but how do you start? How do you start, like on the paper, and what exactly the process is?
It's mostly on the paper initially, because on paper it's faster for us to if you are working on some something in the lines of animation. We are mostly sketching very rough thumbnail sketches as storyboards on paper, uh, which gives the idea of framing to us. And
Where the characters would be in the frame, and to give a rough idea of how we are, placing the characters in the frame to the line. We draw a storyboard,
and in cases of illustrations for ads and creatives, we do the same. We make a rough sketch of the frame, and once the client approve it, we color it digitally, and we actually put the entire thing into digital, and then we color it digitally, and that's how we go about it.
So, okay, so for our aspiring illustrator, is there any golden rules or some set of rules that they should follow to become a good illustrator?
uh, follow what of great artists, and what we mentioned earlier, sketch, and
Also, carrying a
sketchbook wherever you go, that helps a
helps a
lot.
lot. Yeah.
And that must come from within. Like I feel really awful when I'm out and I realize I'm not So yeah, so that thing must be there. Like you must feel like sketching something when sketching when you come across something good. You need to sketch a lot. You need to carry a sketchbook wherever you go, and it must come from within. Like
You must love doing it,
yeah,
and not get tired of doing it as if it is some
some
kind
kind
of
of
work
work
or
or
something.
something.
So, and you also need to other artists from all around the world, not just from your country or anything. It also helps to follow regional artists to understand what they are taking inspirations from. Because one thing that we often see is that people overlook what's happening around them, and they
To Marvel or Disney.
yeah, right. Because
So
I think we can start things off by taking inspirations from what's happening around us, because that's something that is personal, and that's something that is unique
close
and
to you.
waiting to
Yeah.
told probably. So I think we need to follow international artists and regional artists to understand how they interpret things they see, and we might take inspirations from them, and we might use their way of looking at things and interpret it, and that way I think we will, after a point of time, we will automatically start developing our own style.
And start coming up with things that are unique.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. What were your like favorite artist and illustrator of all time?
We actually follow a lot of artists, but in the when we were beginning to sketch or take up a structured way of proceeding, we used to follow a lot of artists like Michael Ramirez, and one of our very favorites is Sean Tan. I think Sean Tan is a very he is one of the most brilliant visual artists ever. I mean, to us. So, if there is anyone who is, willing to explore how to speak through images, Sean Tan's, there's this book of Sean Tan called The Arrival. So it's a must-have.
There's no text.
Yeah.
It has no text, but it conveys a story just through images. It's like a silent film unfolding on in front of your eyes.
Okay, so like if you're doing what a lot of creative work, so you must be hitting a creative block, like, and you don't know how to get over it. Like for mo I'm quite sure most of our aspiring people are having that creative block and they don't know how to get back on the track. So like, did you guys ever had that creative block, and how did you guys get over it?
There are like when we are it's often it happens when you're not in a good state mentally, or depressed, like uh, it's a common thing, like, but uh, eh, over here that thing comes again, like if you're looking around you, there are ideas all around you.
Yeah,
Like,
you can actually start your way out of a creative block just by looking at whatever is directly in front of you at that very point of time. Then you just add something very unusual, like what if the bed I am sitting on right now would suddenly take off into the sky, and we are launched into the sky with all the clouds and birds around us. So it's something like that. But having said that, creative block is it's very real, and at times we have felt nothing is uh, no idea is there for for a time span of around 7-10 days, and it also helps when you read or watch films or look at artwork by other people.
So
That
whenever you, hit a creative block, it's important to focus on the input, like take as much input as you can from news, from works of other artists, and so
also calming oneself down is also very important, because we must, I think it's very important for artists or otherwise to realize that, it's not permanent, because the creative block is not permanent as well, and it will go after a point of time. So
and we are not in a competition.
yeah,
Like we have to keep producing artwork. That's really important to understand that we need to, make ourselves understand that we are not in a competition and we don't need to, keep producing artwork to stay in the race or something. There's no race, and yeah. So and if nothing's working, we must, get back to reading and watching films, reading their screenplays, reading about how the film was made. Because often, there are times when you are going through a creative block and you read up about a famous artist, and you get to know that this guy was also in a creative block before coming up with something fantastic. So that really gives you inspiration, and that's how it, often works for us.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Like you should go out and you should, if you are having a block you can't produce, then you should take all the information inside and start trying to make something.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Turn yourself down.
Yeah.
going out option is, is disabled for now.
Yeah,
So we take a, walk on our terrace.
yeah.
So
Okay.
and watch film.
Mm-hmm.
Like how do you define constructive criticism and like someone is just criticizing because they want to? Like how do you differentiate that?
So, like, suppose I have illustrated Shah Rukh Khan and someone comments that it's awful. Uh, so that's not constructive criticism. Constructive criticism is like if someone says that the gap between his nose and the mouth should be less, like, and the eyebrows shouldn't be in such a great distance from each other. So, so that's how constructive criticism looks for us. Yeah.
So yeah, so as you and your brother, like you are twins, so and you work together, so you must be having a lot of conflict. Like every brother has conflicts between them, fights between them. So you, while working together, you must be having a lot of fights. So like how do you tackle that, or how do you come to a like a common solution?
Strangely, very strangely, we don't. Like this often disappoints, fellow twins, that they can't believe that we don't have conflicts or fights. There are disagreements rarely, and they are settled really easy. Like if he proves me wrong, I give up. Like I surrender that. You're right. So, and we both agree and take the way that the other has suggested. And there are also times that we both are confused. Like I am saying something and I'm not very confident about it. He's saying
Yeah.
something else, and neither he is really confident about it. Uh, then we put it out for people to judge. Like, and there's mostly our elder brother. Like when we both are confused about something, we take it to him that and ask him, "Ki, what do you think?" Like, he gives the casting report. Yeah. So
Oh.
the one gets his report, we go ahead with that idea, and if he too is confused, then we just illustrate it and put it up for the people to judge.
Yeah, that's the most optimum way, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so there is a lot of websites.
Mm-hmm.
So now, as graphic designing is getting a lot of like a weightage, like many people want cool graphics on their social media pages, like many businesses want that. So there is
Mm-hmm.
lot of pages like Canva and Wix and many pages where you can make some pretty good graphic designs and some not illustration I'll say, but pretty good graphic design post for
Yeah,
your Instagram page. So like what are your thoughts about it? Like what do you think about those website and stuff?
it's cool. I mean, bots can make a sleek design, but one thing bots can't do is that they can't emote. Like, uh, uh, that's the basic difference between a human and a bot. Like, no matter how much AI you put there, like it's hard. I mean, maybe it won't. It might be achievable someday, but that's why you need to, put all your emotions in your work. Like, but having said that, actually, as far as graphic design is concerned, to some extent, I feel if it's helping people at certain stages. For example, I have seen a friend of mine who was designing some. He was in an internship and he was designing some creatives through Canva. So at that point of time, people like that, students who need to design something in a very short span of time can't really, you know, uh, go to a graphic designer and ask them to, do this for me. So for for them it helps, but I think when at a more advanced stage, when you need something really personal, you need to add something very specific and personal to something. Uh, that's where I think these options get. These options get limited.
Okay. So okay, so last question I'd like to ask, like there are a lot of people who get confused between graphic designer and illustrator. So
Mhm.
what exactly the difference between an illustrator and a graphic designer is?
Uh, Graphic design is a little more calculative, like an illustration is a bit, it's comparatively more freehand than graphic design. Like graphic design requires a lot of discipline. Yeah, illustrations do that too, but after a point of time, you just break free and you just explore things endlessly. Yeah. But graphic design is a bit about little bit of discipline, calculation, geometry. For graphic design, I mean proper graphic design, I'm talking about. And
Okay.
there's this misconception, like people just making you know just creating logos in making frames or Canva or something, like term it as graphic design. But graphic design
Yeah.
is a lot more calculative and uh, requires hard work. So I mean, it's we suggest that someone who's uh, advertising themselves as graphic designers get to know the subject well, so that for graphic, when so that they don't go clueless when something of a core graphic design job comes to them, and they go clueless. So to avoid that, they should get to know more. In general, we feel that no matter what field you are taking,
Yeah.
you need to read a lot actually about it
Yes.
to understand what it is about. I mean, it's very important, and lots of other people who are stalwarts in their own field have said it before us, and even though we don't need to say it again and again, but it's still that, I mean, you should know the rules before you start breaking it. So that's really important. So even if you're taking up Canva for saving time, but if you really want to pursue a future in it or love doing it, you must start reading about it as
Okay. Wow. Okay, so that's all the question I had. So, is there any like tips you want to give to our audience, or any suggestion you would like to give? Closing comments.
well. Yes, I mean, since a lot of artists, you know, I don't, I mean, as people who aspire to be, comic artist or anything illustrator are on Instagram, there are a lot of artists you can follow up who are, working in the regional spaces and also international artists in so many different styles. I mean, the ones we get to see mostly on screen or in social media are, the westernized, the classic Marvel or DC comic style, right? But there are a lot of
Yeah.
artists exploring so many different styles nowadays, and it's all out there to see. And you can take inspirations from them, and you that helps you to come up with your own explorations and style. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, and I would like to add, like, this is the time, the world needs artists more than ever, because
Yeah.
artists need to develop sympathy and kindness, because I see, like, I see good animators works. I mean, I see works and I realize that these are good animators, and they're all they're animating is agenda and agenda of hate. So
Okay.
artists need to uh,
Be
learn,
kind. Yeah.
be kind, read history, and see what are the signs of history repeating itself, and speak up through their art. Because we are right now, whatever art we are creating, we are documenting time. When if if the world survives, and if history is written, so people would take these artworks as a documentation of our times, like how I mean, it's nothing to be subtle about how hate is being openly celebrated throughout our country, throughout the world, in America. How there's a surge of how hatred is has been made mainstream. So
Yeah.
artists need to speak up, and they need to get. I mean, to me personally, I don't know about him. To me, a political art is not art at all right now. Like, if you're, it's okay if you're, giving an escape to the ones who are watching your art, and who are probably dealing with something grave,
In their personal life.
in their personal lives. If it's helping them escape from it, then it's cool. But we need to look after our ideology as we create art, and and be kind to people. We must speak up about if a community is being attacked, if a certain kind of people are being targeted all the time, and the underprivileged. We must speak up for every one of them through our art, and help in whatever way we can. And this doesn't mean, like, people often question, like, what good is your art doing if you're worried so much about people? Why are you just making art? Like, so it's important to tell them, like, there are photographs of places actually uh, help get donations, like artworks on things that help get
donations. Whatever starts a conversation actually, leads to something, leads towards a solution.
Yeah, completely. I completely agree with it. Um, okay, so I have like all the questions are done. So I would like to really thank you for this interview, for like meeting over the Skype. I know we had a lot of problem connecting, but thank you for bearing all that.
Thank you, Saurabh.